making a discernible hardware?
Oh boy, where to start with this one? So Valve has announced their next hardware venture, which is called the Steam Deck. Not the Stream Deck, don't get confused with Elgato's own products, but it's a portable PC, basically. People are saying it's like a competitor to the Switch. Although there have been portable PCs made fairly recently, this is kind of Valve's hand on trying to break into this market, and they've been trying to do this in different ways with the Steam Link. They had like the little Alienware like PCs that you could upgrade, but you kind of couldn't. Obviously, we had the Steam controller, and they've obviously made hardware before with VR. But this one's interesting because it kind of incorporates everything from their previous hardware into kind of this already established niche market. First of all, I think it's important that we talk about the target market of this product because a lot of people are saying it is a Switch killer. There's a joke I thought was really funny with Nintendo in that people are going to have the Steam Deck to play all of the, emulate all the Nintendo games that Nintendo can't be able to port over to the Switch and charge you again to own. So in a way, yes, that's good, but I don't think that this is what people are going to use the Steam Deck for mostly. Pretty much with every other bit of hardware that Steam has done as well, with the controller, with VR, they're already established markets and products for that specific thing that they've made. Controllers have been around for a very long time, but Valve seems to put a very weird twist and kind of rethink and redesign some of the core aspects of their hardware. The Steam controller looks very peculiar and stands out a mile away from every other game console controller out there. And with the Vive, even though the VR market's quite spread out with the different products and companies that are making VR content, the Vive is the original Vive had a really distinct controller. And obviously the Index as well, which was separated from HTC. Valve really puts in these little quirky design, which kind of looks cool, kind of looks a bit uncomfortable at the same time. But at the end of the day, it sometimes works. But onto the point I was saying before with the target audience, I think the core audience here is PC players, quite simply. The Steam Deck is running a version of SteamOS. It's going to be running on Linux, which I think is really cool stuff. Valve has been doing a lot of things with Linux, or they at least attempt to, with Proton and Vulkan and all these kind of open source graphical interfaces and such. I'm sorry, I haven't done much research on that right now. It's for another video really, but basically Valve has been known to be favorable over Linux, mostly because it's open source, unlike Windows and Mac, which they're not open source, so Valve can't do whatever they want. And as well, Linux can be a lot more lightweight and kind of just does what you need it to do, where the other operating systems obviously have bloatware in them, or you can't touch them, we've got to protect the children from you. But definitely is a piece of hardware for PC players, and because you use Steam on a PC to play games. Although they kind of say that it's going to work on high-end games, they showed Control working on it. I doubt that's going to last very long. I think this is going to be catered more towards indie games and people on the go. And the reason I think the Steam Deck isn't going to be a Switch killer is because, quite simply, I play on this for different reasons than I would play on the Steam Deck. Here, I would play on this on the Switch to play Mario, to play Animal Crossing, to play Zelda. Those exclusives I can only get on the Nintendo storefront, the stuff that only Nintendo makes. Nintendo is great at just making exclusives, and this isn't a gaming console so much as it is my Animal Crossing console or my Pokemon console. Like I bought this for a specific game. It's not because it's portable or as powerful as an Xbox 360, because I don't want to play 360 games on this. I want to play Animal Crossing. And so when we look at the Steam Deck, the reason why I would buy it or play it is to play my Steam library. Obviously, as well, you can get Windows on it and play pretty much any PC game you want, which is pretty damn cool. But if you're at home like me right now and you've got your computer set up I'm just going to play on this computer, those Steam games. This is definitely made for people who either don't have a powerful enough PC or who want to be portable. And as well, with that, it's not just specifically PC games, it's games which have controller support. Obviously, you can dock the system, put it on a monitor and use mouse and keyboard, but I think a lot of Valve's work has gone into the controller aspect of the device. So games that support controllers, and that is mostly either party games or single player experiences. Not many games that are competitive multiplayer really cater themselves to being controller focused. A lot of FPS, competitive shooters and MOBAs and such are all mouse and keyboard centric. I think the thing I'm most concerned about with the Steam Deck is its lifespan, and we'll talk a bit later about how Valve has supported their hardware in the past, but my main concern is them saying that this can run most recent modern games that are, quite high graphical fidelity at a medium to high setting. That concerns me a bit because I remember buying a laptop and I was able to play Battlefield 4 on it on medium to low settings, and probably within a year and a half to 6 months I was really regretting it. One of the main differences between the mobile, portable market and the more TV monitor standalone rig is the airspace and cooling. The reason why the PS5 and the Xbox One X or S or whatever the naming convention is out, and with PCs, is that they have good air cooling. The reason why my laptop burnt out so quickly because it was a laptop and didn't have much air and the fans were smaller. When you compact things more and want more power from them, they're going to get hotter, and that heat eventually wears down the system over time. But it might be weird to say this considering their history. I do trust Valve a bit more with their hardware experience. I think the Valve Index actually taught them about quality of the product, and with all the Joy-Con drift that they've been experiencing on their controllers, and now them coming out saying that we've really tried to sort this problem, I do trust them because as much as they have abandoned all their other hardware ventures, they're really good at one thing. It's not releasing stuff, and it's not counting just only to number two. It's as a studio and a company, they're really good at iterating. The reason why I enjoy Half-Life Alyx so much is because of how much iteration happened over the course of its development, and I think the same is happening here. I do think change is still going to be made. I think people have really spoken out about the placement of particular buttons on the controller. And at the same time, we can only see what it looks like from the pictures. I feel like a lot of the opinions people have, we have to wait until this is out in the wild for there to be a really finalized opinion on, hey, is this good hardware or not? But for now, I think we can have some hopes for some certain people. I mean, again, if you have a gaming rig and you don't go out much, this isn't going to be really a thing for you. That's why I'm not really excited for when I thought about getting a dev kit, but it's not available in Australia anyways. And dev kit wise as well, all they really say is that you need to have controller support. Everything else, it's just running a Steam game on a computer. So you don't really need any specific specs or controller support or hardware specifications, technically. But I think if there are those older teenagers or younger adults who don't have as much money, or don't have the rig, or more specifically for me, the reason why I have this is to make video games on and to do video production. Maybe people just have laptops and might not be able to run, all the games that they want to run in the Steam library anymore because, like me, they have, a kind of beaten down old laptop. But I also think about things like LAN parties. How I wish I had one of these things at LAN parties or going away on family vacation, because I liked my video games when I was younger, and right now if I go on a trip, I want to do something more specific because it is my trip, because I'm older now. But as a kid growing up, this would have been great for car rides, would have been great for staying in the hotel. You can hook it up to the TV, and it's a little more in depth than a gaming console. It's got a bit more bells and whistles. Like, for younger people, I think this is going to be really good hardware and a fun system to have, especially if you are more into playing with your friends on Discord. This is definitely a younger audience orientated, or for those who travel a lot. I mean, if you're going on business and you miss playing your games and, you want to take your rig with you, I think this is the closest thing you're going to get without being too cumbersome with what you need. And I'm interested to see after the release of the Steam Deck how its support continues on, because things like the Steam Link and the Steam controller, they had support for a certain period of time, but I think Valve might have realized that they kind of had a miss on some of the things there, and hopefully this is them trying again to incorporate all those things they were making with everything else into one system. And I think the price point is really reasonable, because if you compare this not to a Nintendo Switch but to other little portable PCs, basically gaming handheld systems, this is really good. I mean, fair enough, in Australia that's still a lot of money, and in the States too and everywhere else, but compare it to the competition, realistically, the competition, and I think Valve is doing the same thing lots of other companies have done, like Facebook with the Quest, is that they want to get this into the hands of other people so then they can start pushing more of the software side of things. Because I think if this really does hit off, as much as Epic has been trying to really kick down Valve's door when it comes to, PC exclusives and, controlling the PC market, it makes me laugh because it reminds me of Epic not being allowed to be on other stores like, iOS and such. And Steam's just like, you know what, we're going to make our own game console and just put our OS on there. But if you don't want our OS, if you want to run Windows 10 or Arch Linux, or heck, if you can somehow get like Mac OS on running this thing, like you can do it. I appreciate Valve for sometimes, although they're not always pro-consumer. In this regard, they are trying to be pro-consumer because I think, one, they know the history they have with supporting their hardware, so I think they kind of want, if they do drop this, people to be able to support it, but also to sometimes they just hit the nail on the head, which is a relief for a lot of us. Now, speaking of price, I just want to say that this isn't available in my country, and I don't know when it's going to be. It's only fairly recently, in the past few months, the Valve Index has been silently launched on EB Games. So not only is there going to be limited stock around the world, it's not going to be available in my country for now. They're probably going to just see if, this crash and burns and, not bother release, in other parts of the world because it's already a failed piece of hardware. I don't think that's going to be the case, but again, time will tell. And the funny thing with everything that's been spoken so far online about the Steam Deck is that there are people who look at this and love it. They want to play Stardew Valley, they want to play their Steam library, they want to sideload, other operating systems. This is a portable computer that is powerful. Like, for the fact it being under $1,000 is pretty crazy. And I think it's also really cool that the price points only change because of storage, and I think screen protection as well. But aside from that, like power wise, each console's the same, which again is freaking awesome. So I think for sure there are going to be people out there who are just super excited to get their hands on this, that just this is what they've been waiting for, and they're going to love it and they're going to appreciate it and they're going to have wonderful memories with this piece of hardware. And whether it dies in the future like the PSP did, or whether it's going to flourish into some other branch of technology, if I'm going to in the future be owning a smartphone and some weird portable device that can also play my emulators for old Nintendo Switch games, and that's awesome. But I also know there are people out there who loathe this, who think that Valve should just not bother making this, that they're going to hate the design, but they're still going to put down a deposit, they're still going to use it and play it, and they're just going to rant about it online and complain about how crappy the Joy-Con drift is. And with those people, I say to you, like, I understand that you enjoy complaining, but also you're giving Valve your money. And the best way to, not support something is to not put your money towards it. And so if the sales are up and you're playing it actively, you're not going to be communicating to Valve very clearly that you dislike their product. So those are all my thoughts on the Steam Deck. I think the naming convention is quite confusing, and a lot of the time when researching for this, I just got lots of Elgato pages. So it would be really nice if they had worded it to be something a little bit different than an already established name brand, and you're just taking out one letter doesn't doesn't help the algorithm at all. But let me know in the comments below your thoughts, whether or not you're going to reserve a copy, try and get your hands on this, or whether you don't really care about it at all, or if you've any predictions for whether or not this is gonna, flop or be a success. For now, I'm gonna play my cards close to my chest and say, just wait and see. I've been burnt a little bit, especially with the PS5. I'm just gonna wait and see whether this is even worth it. It does look promising, and I think everyone can see that, but at the same time, I have no doubt in my mind if this absolutely flops. But again, it looks good. It looks like every other product that Valve has made. They've learned from their mistakes. But you look at this, and I'm kind of like, it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad. The price point's pretty good. I'm not going to get one. I'm not going to get one just yet, but you know what, if there's a pre-owned one at EB Games or, on Facebook Marketplace in a few years, I might pick one up for a couple of $100. It's a cool piece of tech. It's nothing like VR. I'm not, as excited as I am about VR, getting invested with this stuff, but I still think it has some awesome potential. And now I have some exciting news for everyone, because since this doesn't have a sponsor, within this video, there's no sponsor in this video, I would really appreciate it if you could all head over to Patreon or Subscribestar and contribute, a couple of dollars, because just that support per month really helps us out. And, if this doesn't have a sponsor, you're welcome, but consider this a sponsor segment. If you enjoy this type of content, if you love the table rants or the skits or anything to do with the game nights or Shadowversity, head over there, and, your financial support legitimately does help us, because we need to get paid.